The Niu U1 is an electric bike that China needed. It blows its competitors out of the water, being the first well-designed, well-built and connected bike that has ever been released. This is actually my own bike. It cost me about 5,000 RMB or $750 US and will comfortably take me to work over 20 kilometers away. The battery is a 48 volt 16 amp hour unit, which gives me an easy 30 kilometers of range and can reach top speeds of 40 kilometers an hour. I've driven this bike for a year, over 5,000 kilometers in total, without any battery degradation from its lithium ion unit, and I've had no problems with breakages or rust in the year I've owned it. Interestingly, Niu have just listed on the New York Stock Exchange and have plans for a more global rollout in the coming years. So what is a premium e-bike like to drive around the streets of Shanghai? I took mine to the West Bund area to find out more. Unfortunately, you're going to be stuck with my voice as a voiceover today, as the recording didn't work out. The ride on this bike is great. It soaks up the bumps, speeds away from the lights and is nimble and agile around corners. It does weigh about 150 kilograms, so it's not very light, but it carries me easily around Shanghai. The bike has a connection with satellites and an app, so it's continuously recording data about efficiency and which traffic locations are the busiest all across China. They claim to have 1 billion miles of data so far. It also handily will locate your bike via GPS if it gets stolen. Niu also say that the battery and motor achieve over 90% efficiency, which I can well believe. The bike has regenerative braking, which gives back around 6% of the power you use over a journey. The bike has DRL or daytime running lights, and then at night it has probably the most powerful headlight on any scooter model I've seen. It's really good. I've never actually had anything go wrong with this bike other than the 4 punctures. It's a bit of a pain as you have to take it into the shop to get it replaced, and it costs around 200 RMB or about $35 to fix. But they do have really good customer service in the shops, and they've actually fixed a few things for me for free. I try not to drive it too much in the wet. It's more about safety in the roads as they're quite slippery, whereas I think the bike can cope with it. It's fully waterproof, so there's no problems there. This is the Niu U1 model, and it's the model they made to meet all the city regulations in China. It's their smallest bike and probably the one with the least power, and it's the least expensive. They do have a mid-range model called the M1, which is quite nice, and this is probably more appropriate for someone of my size. I don't think my one actually fits me and my height very well, but I bought it and it works fine for me. They also have the N1 model, which is the model I originally wanted, which is their big model with the most power and the biggest batteries, but these aren't legal in Shanghai, so I opted for the U1. These bikes, not just the Niu, have really transformed cities in China. Thankfully, there's no gasoline mopeds in Shanghai, otherwise the noise and pollution would be unbearable. So I'm about to head over a really cool bridge. At this point I was doing about 37 kilometers an hour. The speed limit in Shanghai is about 40 in most places anyway, so I don't really need to go any faster. This futuristic bridge has actually been used in a lot of commercials, and I think you can see why. It also lights up at night and looks very nice. At this point we're going past someone else who's got your quite typical scooter that they have in China. It's got a lead acid battery, not very well made, but it's very cheap, so it probably starts at around 3,000 RMB or about $450. And you can see they haven't put much thought into the design of it or the materials. It's kind of just banged out and people buy it, and then after a year it breaks down or the battery's not so efficient, and they get rid of it and they buy a new one. And I think this is where Niu have found their niche. So the other really neat thing about this bike is the battery. So this is the battery down here. It's not especially heavy. You can just take it upstairs to your apartment, plug it in for about 8 hours and come down and put it in. So to put it in the bike, you just need to open the seat, like so. This is an aftermarket thing I bought to protect it from getting stolen. Put it in here like this, put that down, plug it in, and that's it. And then you've got your keys, which are nice, which are keyless. So you just press the middle key and the bike is on. So on the bike here we've got a number of controls, but not too many. So this is the parking brake essentially. If you
turn it off, it turns all the power off, so you can't go anywhere. You've got your lights, you've got your daytime running lights, which are always on, but then you've got a headlight, which is very bright, brighter than most other e-bikes on the road. Then you've got your modes, so you've got mode 1 and 2. Mode 1 takes you up to about 20 kilometers an hour. Mode 2 takes you beyond that to about 35, 40 kilometers an hour. And then on the other side, over here, we've got your horn, which is very loud. Indicator, it's probably my least favourite control. It's very plasticky and just feels a bit nasty. Press it in to turn it off. Cruise control. So if you're cruising along at 30k, press it and it keeps the speed going. Then on here you've got your time, you've got your satellite connection, your modes, your battery remaining percentage, which is actually very, very good and very reliable. You've also got your indicator down here, and then you've got your how many kilometers you've done and your speedo here.
So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different this week, riding an e-scooter, and we'll be back to cars next week. Thanks.